Today is one of our annual events, and it's all about promoting the cooperative story and the value and contribution that it brings to the Northern Ireland economy. I think if you ask people, their first reaction is, oh, it's co-op shops, or they think of the funeral services. But I think there is a slow recognition now that that's not just what co-ops are about. And that's because of events like today, where we're showing that there is a much broader range of businesses out there, and that it's about people like you and me that can run our own businesses very successfully and sustainably, and that they're open and transparent, and we're responsible for our own business.
We're a co-op that has built and we own 6 wind turbines, and they're positioned around various places in Northern Ireland. So we generate electricity from the wind and we sell it into the grid, and we make some profit which we use wisely. It was the vision of one particular individual, Andrew McMurray, and to make it possible he contacted some people in Energy for All in Cumbria who had the expertise dealing with other co-ops, and they helped him put out a share offer to raise the funds, and from there it took off.
So Lough Neagh Fishermen's Co-operative Society was formed in 1965. The fishermen obviously had been fishing on the lough for years, and in fact their forefathers before them, and they felt that it was a right to, in their bloodline to fish for eels. And for a lot of men it was actually their only means of employment, and also for their sons as well. Ultimately been put off the lough for many reasons, and also been taken to court as well for fishing for brown eels. Eventually they decided they need to form a group to help defend themselves and allow themselves the opportunity to make employment by catching eel. So they actually spoke with the local parish priest, Father Oliver Kennedy, and asked for his help as well. So when Father Oliver got involved, there was a great push to form the cooperative, and in 1965 they bought into meal fishery. By 1972 they had actually bought out the company, and it's been a cooperative since then. We have about 200 fishermen at the minute who fish for eel. That runs really from the 1st of May to roughly the end of October, depending on weather. They're self-employed, and then they bring their captured eels to us, and we market and sell them on their behalf. 80% of them go to Holland, and about 20% go to London, and a small percentage stays at home.
The Creative Workers Co-op started from conversations that we were having among a group of friends. We were in precarious work. We'd seen the work that we were in was difficult to get out of. Like, we were sort of almost stuck in a poverty trap. Yet we had sort of skills that we cultivated over years. That we decided if we pulled that together, if we came together and set something up, started looking into ways of doing that there, and we heard this sort of very exotic term of a worker cooperative, and we were very intrigued by that. We then sort of looked into it, and we started out initially in our bedrooms, and sort of a fairly ramshackle affair, but became very professionalised very quickly in terms of what we could do and what we could output. Some of the stuff we started doing was working alongside trade unions and community groups and sort of producing stuff for them. Sort of developed quite a name for ourselves in terms of graphic design and the type of stuff that we could do for community groups or trade unions for a budget. And from there we sort of grew from strength to strength. We do animation, we do filmmaking, print, pretty much anything that people throw at us we do.
The cooperatives, it's little known how much they actually bring to the Northern Ireland economy. It's in the billions. We were talking about 34 billion. There are at least 3 or 4 of the large co-ops are in the most successful top 10 UK co-ops, and that seems to get lost in the message that goes out, because people do tend to relate it to the co-op shops. But that's not the case, and you can simply go online to Co-ops UK and you can look down the list of the credit unions, the dairy co-ops, the farming co-ops, food co-ops.
Benefits are widespread. Obviously people have invested in it, and so some of the profit goes back to give an interest to those individuals. We have the 6 landowners who have the turbines on their ground who benefit because it's a diversification for their farm businesses, and then we have a community fund that we spread around, and we've done interesting things. We've put PV panels on the roof of a community building, a busy one, and they're benefiting in that they're saving on their electricity bills, they get the free electricity, and also then they can put that money into frontline services. And we do a lot in education in primary schools, particularly local to our turbines, to educate children about environmental awareness, the whole issues of sustainability, community ownership, and how we can use renewable energy, effectively in that respect.
In essence, roughly about 3 million turnover a year, so it's a very substantial element to the local rural economy. Lough Neagh Fishermen's Co-operative actually manages the largest wild eel fishery in all of Europe. We produce about 14% of the wild eel stock that's sold throughout Europe, and sustainable management has been key to everything that we've done back from the foundation in 1965, when eel became into decline in 1983, when the return of elvers was much lower than expected, and has maintained at that low level ever since. We were able to demonstrate our sustainable management, and that's why we're still operating, and that's why what we do was used as a blueprint for other wild eel fisheries throughout Europe.
To me, the inspirational thing comes from the likes of Italy, where they use a term like strawberry fields. They have lots of wee co-ops that network and do business together, and that sustains an economy, and it almost becomes an alternative type of economy where communities are empowered. To us, though there's not very many co-ops, that they do come together and that they do share resources and do work with each other, and that sort of builds strength among that type of economy. You would like to see more of it, obviously, and make it easier to do that. Sometimes if you're at the coalface of your own work, you find it very difficult to stand back and take a wee bit of a wider view of how things are going. But these events are really important in terms of co-ops getting together to meet each other, and sort of showcase what they do.
It's the idea that people working together can achieve a lot more than an individual ever would. Nobody who's involved in the Drumlin co-op could have afforded to have a wind turbine, to own one, and yet together we are doing this. We may be small, but we are significant, we believe, in mitigating the effects of climate change. A very small way, but every little bit helps, and so we feel a feeling of empowerment that you can actually do something that is important for people, and we can plough some of our profit back into the community and help build that education, that awareness that will change people's futures. So it's important to work together with like-minded people.